Good morning, Canada. Welcome to another episode of RCTV. I'm your host, Nick Rack. On this week's episode, we're going to be heading out to Langley, BC to see the Langley Cruise. I'm not going to tell you what it's about, but I know all you aficionados will enjoy this one. And then we're going to be heading to look at a fantastic event that's actually an indoor event, which we feature some airships. But first, Beeton Float Planes. Enjoy this one. Today we are in Beeton, Ontario. We have a really cool treat. We have some very interesting float planes to look at. So let's get right to the action. Rick, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Now, this is a beautiful location, first of all.
People tell us it's the best float flying site in Ontario.
Now, what do you do for the Beeton Flyers?
I'm the president of the club.
And what does that entail doing, up here?
Making sure things are done right for the club, that following the rules and stuff. And I have an executive group that help out with that too. And we get together and we plan events like this float fly today, and flies at our field and stuff like that.
Now, how long has the club been in existence here?
Since 1989.
Mm-hmm. Now, you do have something going on in August. You were telling me that you also have a huge event that's Canada-wide.
Yeah, we used to have a corncob float fly, just the club. And a few years back, we found out from Mac that the float flying situation was depleting in Ontario. So when we were driving on our way back from the zone meeting, one of my executives and I talked about it, and we thought, why couldn't we do a big float fly on our pond? We got a perfect location. So 3 years ago, we started to have it, and it's growing, and we're expecting a big crowd this year. It's on August the 18th.
Besides landing on water, what is the real difference about flying a float plane?
You have to pay attention to the wind. You never want to take off sideways to the wind if you can help it, or land sideways to the wind. A crosswind landing can be done, but you're much better to land into the wind and take off into the wind. And as you can see here, we have so much room. It doesn't matter which direction the wind's coming from, we can accommodate that.
Well, you know what, folks? Let's go take a look at Rick's plane and see how he sets it up and everything. And let's talk about the balance a bit, because that seems to be an important factor about float plane flying. Let's go take a look, folks. Okay, Rick, so this is your plane right here.
Yeah.
Now, besides the pontoons, it looks like almost like a scale trainer.
It is.
It is, basically?
Yeah, it's called a Tella Master,
Mm-hmm.
which was known as a trainer.
Now, how do you judge the weight and the balance here?
Basically, the float should be 3/4 the length of the fuselage,
Mm-hmm.
and the prop should be approximately 3 inches ahead of the float. And then, depending on the size of the plane, you change the width of the float and the depth of the float to suit for holding the weight. And the step, which is the part under the plane, is supposed to be about 1/2 inch ahead of the center of gravity.
And that's this piece right
Yes,
here
it is.
then, right?
Yes.
So the depth probably about 1/2 inch?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And what's the reason for the step? What does it actually do?
It's like a hydroplane. In a boat, the boat gets up on the step, they call it. It gets up and then it comes out of the water. So what that does is it lifts the plane up out of the water, and now it's riding on the front part of the float.
Instead
The
of
back part is out. Now you have room to rotate. So when you give it up elevator, the step can come, the back of the float can come down a bit, which changes the angle of the wing, which lifts you off.
Great,
Exactly.
Fantastic. Now I notice you're flying around a bit, you're doing some tricks and everything. Is it a little bit more difficult? Do you get a lot more wind resistance off the floats?
Yeah, you feel the floats, you feel the extra weight. The plane will flip around and come down more with that extra weight.
Now, why did you pick float flying?
Well, anybody that comes out and watches it and sees it, and especially early in the morning when it's like glass out here, and you see the reflection of the plane on the water lifting off and landing, it's just like the real thing, and it's such a beautiful picture. It just draws you to going to float flying.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why the most of us are in float flying, because we love the sight of it.
And now how many members are in the club right now?
We have 62 members in the club right now.
Wow, so
Yeah.
that is quite a bit. Well, Rick, thank you very much, and thanks for all the work you're doing for float flying in Ontario. Folks, come out and check out Beeton Flying Club up here in Beeton, just north of Alliston. Check out some fantastic float flying. This is what it's all about. And don't forget, the corn cob
Float fly.
float fly up in Beeton coming up in August. We'll be filming that in a future episode. Take care, folks.